Hi, here's another edition of Green Walks Boardroom Talks. Hold on for just a few seconds if you're one who reads all the bad news on climate change and don't know what you can do about it. This is then the chat you should listen to. It's a podcast more than a YouTube series. You have more to listen than to see, so you can plug in when you're driving or on your morning walks, perhaps. Why boardroom talks, green walks, maybe you understand. Ask any energy or water expert seeking to offer solutions to save water or energy. He or she will tell you of how a wide spectrum of corporate managers today cannot see beyond financial costs. They don't carry a mandate to do more than what they are told by their management, and they don't know how to persuade, therefore, boardroom members to expand their green footprint of the companies, that is, while improving, of course, the company's bottom line with operational savings and so on. Green Walks Boardroom Talks is a series, and today we have Benet George, as we have had many others in the past. Benet here is an accredited energy auditor. He offers training in ESG, in greenhouse gas emissions and reduction, energy efficiency, of course, energy data analytics, and so on. He helps facilities, buildings, factories, various building typologies to go beyond the traditional energy audit approach to total energy management, as he calls it, which effectively means that he offers you a master energy plan that ensures continual energy and cost reduction for your company if you go to someone like Benet and his company. His company, 6 years now since he launched it, it's called Benet Energy or Benet Energy. Before that, for a decade or so, he spent time at Schneider working on many different projects in India, in South Asia, and in a dozen countries. He started, interestingly, with an engineering discipline program called Energetics from NIT Calicut. It was a teacher of his who told him to do that, and he will tell us that story as we go along. Today, he has about 15 people. He works essentially, therefore, on safety and reliability and energy efficiency. What is nice and interesting to know is that only yesterday, September 21, 2023, he went to Delhi to pick up an award from SEEN. It's called the Star Performance Award, given by the society, which is Trivandrum-based. And this was given to him for excellence in energy auditing, among various categories of awards that SEEN has been offering. He's worked on mines, steel, cement, paper, aluminium, automobiles, tires and pharmaceuticals, textiles, engineering, you name it. Of course, IT buildings, commercial buildings of various kinds, offices, hotels and resorts. He's even done some golf clubs on energy efficiency. He's done large townships too. And that covers a gamut of 350 such audits and solutions which have effectively brought energy efficiency to the table for those companies and their managements. He has moved in step with technology shifts to work on energy data analytics, which isn't a domain that many professionals work on. And of course, the remote energy monitoring with the IoT base that helps you identify potential savings opportunities in your company if you are an energy guzzling sort of company. There are companies which have had, let's say, an annual bill of as much as, say, 20 crores, and he's brought savings of 8 to 15%. And that can mean a lot of money for anybody who is leading any facility. So what does Benet George offer to companies? How can your company or your business gain from his strategic thinking and of his team? I met Benet at a recent gathering maybe 2 weeks ago, after maybe 2 or 3 years. And COVID has not helped many of us who, actually used to meet more often earlier on. He was his usual warm, amiable self. When he met me this time, he came up and said hi. A couple of days later, I invited him to the Green Walk Studios, and so here he is. He accepted instantly. Thank you so much, Benet, for accepting that day when I sent you this message asking you to see if you will want to join us on the Green Walks chat. Green Walks Boardroom Talks reaches thousands of young managers who want to do something about climate change, who want to know how to go about doing such change. Some don't know how to make a strong business case to their seniors in management who are fearful of spending extra monies or of innovating. Nobody wants innovation. Innovation is risk for a senior manager. And therefore, many of the middle-level managers who are earnest, willing, want to adopt such, shall we say, approaches to going green or bringing efficiency are stonewalled. And that is where this Connect with Boardroom talks sort of happened in our minds. Benet, good afternoon. Greetings to you.
Greetings, Dr. Hariharan. Thank you for hosting me today in Greenwax. It is an absolute pleasure to be here today.
Gracious of you. Thanks once again for being with us. You and I have a window of maybe 30 minutes, less or more, we will figure out, at this session of Green Talks and Green Box and Boardroom Talks. The idea is to see if you can tell us of your journey and the road you have set for your company and for the energy and water marketplace. I understand you work primarily on energy, but water is connected to energy, and therefore I'll be asking you a few questions of those two. Let's begin by a very basic question. You spent some 25 years now from the time you graduated to all those years in different companies. What is that essential core value you think your company is offering to Indian business as a green professional and as an energy practitioner? Give us your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Dr. Hariharan. So, my experience in the energy efficiency and sustainability more than 2 decades. So, in the core strength I am building to the Indian business, typically the 20 years back, energy efficiency, energy management, it was just started after energy conservation rule in 2001, and later it was gradually started. It was voluntary basis. Later, in the present scenario, it became essential for business to improve their sustainability to continue the business. Now, what we are bringing to the business is a long-term partnership, both in the energy efficiency and also in the other part of sustainability. It may be the safety and reliability and in the governance part of that. So we build a strong energy efficiency background, which helped the organization to reduce their bills. Finally, it saves their energy and reduce their cost. In addition, we can help them to improve their reliability. So this is what typically an organization looks for.
Now, without taking names of companies, because I'm sure you want to be discreet about that, can you give us an example of a company which came to you and said, hey, my energy bill is this for a year, and what do you think you can do to bring efficiency? And what impact did you make to that company?
Okay. So some of the areas where we work, for example, I can give an example of a company which uses the LPG for their process. So their concern is it actually the primary emission. They want to reduce their emission as their long-term strategy. Second, higher energy bill, which they consume maybe 30-40 tons of LPG every month. So we studied their process and we could help them to achieve almost 30% energy in terms of the thermal energy, LPG, in their process. Now we are working together to further optimize, which will save them energy and also carbon reduction.
And that 30%, in terms of money, how would it have translated?
It may be few crores in a year, and the simple payback in 2 months.
Okay, I'll get a little more specific. You said 30%, and you also said monthly they were consuming about 13 to 14 tons.
Yes.
And that would mean 30% is about 4 tons of saving. kg of LPG, how much would they have been spending?
So they will be spending around 60 rupees now.
Which means 4 tons, 4,000 into 60, you're talking up about 2.5 lakh rupees being saved every month, or about 30 lakh saved for the year.
Yeah. So this was done for their primary, one of the study as a pilot project. After that, they are replicating to other process, the same machine. They have multiple machines. So it accounts for in crores.
Okay. So what you're saying is that this first step that you took on a pilot that the company offered you has given them a saving of about 30 lakhs a year, but you're working on some of the larger components now that they have gained in their relationship with you a higher confidence level. Is that what you said?
Exactly.
What was that approach? As a professional, how much of it is common sense? How much of it is technical knowledge that makes you, bring such tangible savings for a company?
Okay. So basic approach in an energy audit, typically it is based on the short-term measurement. When a process which continues for maybe a week time, we have to have little more detailed analysis of the data, both historical data and online data which we are collecting and measuring during the audit. Then analyzing that, what is the variables which is having more impact on their energy? Typically, processes having a high resistance on changing any parameter due to the quality. They have doubt what will happen if this happens to this, if we change the settings of the temperature, maybe the fuel to air ratio. So what we done the approach is, we have taken different batches, we done the analytics, we analyze the process, then we could tell that if you do this activity in the particular process time, which is not having an impact on your process and help you to save energy. And it was a step-by-step approach, not a sudden reduction. So it was a trial basis. They done a small reduction, then waited for 2 batches, observed the quality, then again process for next batch, further reduce, and over a period of 3 months, they could achieve that. Then what they have done is, whatever the initial analysis done, they were integrated that into the process, modify the automation, so that they can achieve that and continue that savings.
How much as training do you need to be imparting to their managers after you have implemented? Because I'm sure this is constantly about making them aware, changing processes, ensuring that the new processes are installed and managed well regularly, and so on, right?
Yeah. So that is the reason this approach is long term, not a short term approach. So that is why we are building partnership. We are not calling as we are an energy auditing company or energy management company. We are building a partnership for sustainability together. We work together as a single team. We get that data, we analyze it, we give the feedback, they optimize, and we train them.
Okay. Let me step back. Now, typically, if you were to take, let's say, the last 20 companies that you worked on, what would have been the smallest annual energy bill and what would have been the largest? Just a comparison and order of magnitude in order for us to give our viewers and our listeners a sense of what you're offering to the marketplace.
That's a great question. So we work with companies which may be their energy bill may be in crores. At the same time, we have worked with the companies which are less than 100 kilowatt. The reason we work with them is they really wanted to reduce their carbon footprint in 5 years by 50%. We also have little down.
You will have to be a little more specific. When you say 100 kilowatts, how many units is that in a year and how much is money?
In terms of in an annual bill, it may be less than 12 lakh rupees.
Okay.
Less than 12 lakh rupees. But what value they could give them is it may be quite interesting for you also. They were working in the same building almost 10 years. We done an analysis. It was the air conditioning was the major load. But what we found that their billing was not happening not based on actual bill. What happened? There was an energy meter in the multiplication factor set was wrong. So actually they were paying almost 35% more than what it's supposed to be. Again, it was an interesting case. It was only eye-opener for all of them. They were taken the building owner, showed them the bill, then they could get the bill corrected for next month onwards. So in fact, more than their energy saving, they could save money from the day one on the audit.
Right. And that's where the energy analytics kicks in. Is that right?
Exactly.
So how do you begin this process of the energy analytics itself? When you step into a new client's project, shall we say? Yeah.
Basically, our approach is we collect the initial data, what is the equipment, systems in place, what is the level of digitization they have, what is the data they capture. So we collect this data and we analyze it. Second part, what we also suggest, what is the additional monitoring required so that we can give them a second level of analytics. So it's the first level of analytics, then second level of analytics, so that it is a long-term sustainability. So we believe it's a long term always.
So to go back to my first question, the biggest such company over the last, say, 20 such company clients that you have taken up would have been in what order of billing? Would they have been at some 20 crores? Would they have been at 2 crores, 3 crores? What would have been the number as energy bills for the year?
Yeah, some of the companies, it may be 15 crores. And the minimum what we are looking typically 10 to 15 lakhs or 30 lakhs.
Got it.
Yeah, so that it is a considerable saving for them.
Yeah.
But as a company and as a professional, we work many cases in the other organization who really wanted to become sustainable. We work with even NGOs to give training.
Sure.
So we want to be a long term.
So typically, at an average, if there is a company where you step in and run your digitizing, your analytics and so on, and your sets of solution, what is the average percentage of saving you bring to them?
Okay, that is a very difficult question, in fact, even based on my last 20 years experience. But what we could see is in process industries, it can be something changing from 5 to 10%, and building industries 5 to even 20%, based on the level of industry, what type of inefficiencies there.
When you say building industry, you mean commercial buildings, IT?
Commercial building, IT facilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can be 15 to 20%.
10 to 20%. The reason is 10 to 20%. The reason is some of the new buildings already have built-in efficiencies incorporated. So the potential may be slightly less. But older building, if we can do a deep retrofitting, there's a potential, definitely, even more than that.
All right. If you were to take the last, say, 1 year to March, I mean, whichever way you want to look at it, the last 12 months, let's say, how much as energy savings would you have brought, your team have brought, and for how many companies, in terms of units of savings? Approximate.
Okay, so it may be around 70 lakhs unit, 70 lakhs unit.
7 to 8 million units?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, 7 to 8 million units. Even if I were to take, say, a ratio of 0.8 for carbon tons and equivalent, you're talking of probably 6 million carbon kgs or 6,000 tons of carbon saved. Can I say that?
Yeah, maybe it's we can consider that.
See, it's an interesting proposition for you, Benet, too. You know, many of the companies that you're going into, that you're walking into and, offering solutions, I'm sure are also looking at how they will fill in their reports for SRBR or for, because BRSR is becoming a major issue for many companies because it's mandatory now from the government of India.
It is mandatory for 2,000 companies in market. Yeah.
Plus, there is ESG and compliance that they have to look at. So beyond, therefore, their need for operational efficiency in terms of energy efficiency that you bring to them, they would also be wanting to see that they're fully compliant on the new, shall we say, ecosystem of regulations that the government is bringing to the corporate sector, right? That becomes another need for them to be wanting to come to people like you.
So we are now we are also shifting from a energy efficiency organization to a sustainability organization, where we can help them in the other part of us ESG. So we have a strong background on environmental part. We are helping them on the social, where they have the safety requirement, maybe gender requirement, and reporting part. What to be reported, how to take the data, how to maintain the data, how we can compare with other peer groups. So this we can help them so that they can ready for the ESG reporting, even if they are not into the top 1,000 now.
Not that. Now, let me ask you another very exciting question as far as the prospects for the future goes. I'm talking about how, for example, if I were to take a company with a 20 crore electricity bill for the year, and let's say you walked in, end of some 4-6 months of work, you reduced it by, say, 10%. Now, you bring them a saving of 2 crore rupees is one part of the story. The other part of the story to me is, in bringing that saving of 2 crore rupees, it's a hypothetical figure, but it'll help us at least to get to some direction on what I'm asking you about. If I have 2 crores to be saved, the investment that the company will have to make will probably be 4 or 5 crores. Sometimes it could be less, depending upon the level of inefficiency today. Like you said, there's somebody who didn't even know that the meter was, sort of rigged or was not showing the right figures. So, including all of those things, I would like to think that the investment would be anywhere from 1.5x to about 3x on that 2 crores of saving that you're likely to bring, which tells me that the IRR, or the, shall we say, the investment payback, is no more than 1 year to probably 2.5 years on any such investment that is made for energy efficiency practices, right? How do you get that funded by people? By banks? By investors?
Yeah, this is one challenge, the present scenario. At the same time, now some of the banks have started offering the investment. And when we see this as a process, when we talk about, this investment and savings, typically what will happen in the savings, at least 20 to 30% comes from the minimum investment or nil investment part, which the company themselves can do it, and they get the savings from probably the first month itself. Then second, some of the project, they may require the capital investment. Most of the cases, people will wait for next financial allocations if they are doing internally. In other case, some of the cases, even investors are ready to invest, provided it is more attractive. So, to give an example, I have worked with some of the projects in the municipal lighting projects, where in the state bank funded that project. So they found that is very attractive, even with a 7 years payback period. Almost 15 crores rupees.
Got it. Between the bank funding such an asset, let's call it an asset, energy asset, and let's say an ESCO stepping in and doing it, what is the difference between an ESCO and a bank funding it?
Okay. So in case an ESCO, the asset is owned by the ESCO. And mostly the risk is also going to the ESCO.
Got it.
But on the other way, the bank will see most on what is the credentials of the buyer or the client.
I got that.
Yeah.
But the bank is not going to, finance an energy asset without some additional collateral being taken.
They typically look at the cash flow, how it can happen at any eventually of any stoppage is there, since they'll have a 3-party agreement typically. If it is a government project, they may be happy since the money will come. The private project, they definitely look for the asset and what about the financials of the...
Yeah, and in such cases, do they also structure in, shall we say, some kind of a refundable deposit for defaults for, say, the first 6 to 8 months and such? Do they do such things?
So now banks are open for that. In fact, last year, we had a meeting in Bangalore with bankers. And the many bankers, they're very novice in this energy efficiency funding. They're also learning and doing. So it may take some time, but I'm sure State Bank or State Bank of India, they've done some of the energy efficiency projects funding, which accounts in the multiple crores, tens of crores, so 15 crores.
Okay. So effectively what you're saying is that on the strength of just the energy asset being the collateral, finance can be secured without any additional immovable collaterals or properties being offered. Effectively, is that what you're saying? Yes.
It is again case to case basis. They assess the project. They are also not very generalistic. Okay, we can fund all its projects.
Right.
Now,
We also
says,
my own experience on this in the last, say, 2 years. A whole new generation of fintech aggregators came into the marketplace. Now, each of them raised from about 2019 or 2020 to about, say, 2022. In 3 years, many of these companies, about 40, 50 of them, each raised anywhere from 40 crores to about 400 crores. 5 or 6 months ago, SEBI came in with the legislation saying, if you are aggregating money from smaller investors under 10 lakhs, hey, you can't do that. You have to see that you then go through a process with SEBI itself, which means that you have to go through a SEBI-approved company and cool your fund. You have to keep your fund for a cooling period of 6 months, I think, and so on. In the last 3-4 months, therefore, there has been a shakeup. I would say from about March 2023, in the last 6 months, there has been a shakeup in the fintech aggregator market. And many of them are stalled. They're not taking monies from investors, although they have a strong investor base. Some of them have easily over 2,500 to 3,000 people who are willing to come in at short notice with 5 lakhs to 2 lakhs to 8 lakhs and so on. Very rarely are people willing to come with over 10 lakhs. Now, what are they doing? For example, I know of one such fintech, which has done about 40 crores of such deployment on green assets. Much of it has gone into the solar rooftops business, right? Now, for example, if I have 40,000 square feet, I'm able to do, say, 400 kWp multiplied by, say, 1,300 units to a year. You've got 55,000 units of electricity that I'm able to generate and use within the place. Sometimes with a net meter, sometimes, as real-time use itself in the solar hours. Now, in the process, what has happened is that these guys who are getting this asset placed on their buildings, although the asset is not owned by them, interestingly, though it's not an ESCO, right? The fintech owns the asset, claims the accelerated depreciation on the income tax structure, and then continues to receive these monies. For protection of defaults, they take some post-dated checks. They also take a deposit, a refundable deposit of anywhere from 6 to 8 months, right? Now, they have extended from solar rooftop. They've gone into water treatment assets. They've gone into energy assets of the stuff that you are doing, for example. They're looking at, say, for instance, I have some daylighting solutions available, or I have a solution where I am able to give you a new generation of lighting systems, which drops energy dramatically. And that drop in the energy bill is therefore monetized in terms of funding. These are things that are interestingly sort of emerging, evolving in the marketplace. But you're right, banks don't understand it yet. Very, very few people understand that the IRRs here can be easily over 22 to 25%, sometimes up to 40%. For example, maybe 5 months ago, we did one 100,000 liters a day, 100 KLD water treatment system, cost about 40 lakhs or so. And we secured a refundable deposit, I think, of about 5 lakhs, right? And structured it in a way that he will pay over 60 months. Now, in structuring this, there are 2 ways of doing it. One is to give it to the solution provider himself. For example, your company can itself be the company which takes the fund, it deploys the asset, and pays the investor back, right? This is one option. The other is you say, hey, I don't want to take it. Here is the company, whichever the company be. And, the fund is given directly to the company, and you only offer the solutions in a way that you become an EPC of sorts, right? You know how these structures can, have a few more combinations and permutations on it. So if you step back, actually, Benet, from what you and I have spoken about, this is a tremendously important market that you're addressing as a green leader. And you're right, you're not just looking at, energy saving. You're looking at partnering a process for the company. You're therefore saying that what you're offering is continuous innovation. You're not offering one solution and walking away. You're not a one night stand. You're somebody who is, you're coming in with something where you step into the company as often as you can to see how you can bring efficiencies. What does that tell you? I would say now you spent between, your first company, Conserve, in 2008 or 9, and then those 10 years in Schneider, and now these 5-6 years in this company that you promoted. You spent nearly 20 years, as you said, maybe more. What does it tell you of this journey of the last 20 years? And where do you think you are going, you and your company are going, if I were to look at 2030? And I'm asking you this question more in the context of, let's say, carbon. If you say that in the last 1 year, you did 7 to 8 million units of saving, actually that's a cumulative saving, because over the next 10 years, that 7 to 8 million which you saved on a baseline is continuing to be saved. And therefore, I would say for 10 years, it's 70 million or 80 million units, right? Now, and every year from now into 2024 and 5 and 6 and 7, between now and 2030, what would be your target, therefore, of energy savings? And how do you think that converts into carbon tons?
Yeah, it's a great question, in fact. What we see is basically now, if you see the even during after the COVID scenario, now we grown to 15 and now increasing to maybe under 20, 25 people in the short span. What we are looking in long term, maybe next 5 years, we want to reach out to at least 100 times people and companies by using technology that we are working in the background, so that at the same time, an experienced team can handle hundreds of projects and hundreds of companies to manage their energy and carbon and achieve their targets. Okay. So we want to be 100 times bigger in next 5 years' time.
Lovely. So if you're saying that you did 70, 80 million units last year, you're reckoning that you could reach up to about 500 to 700 million units a year by 2030. Are you saying that?
Exactly. That is what we are aiming, definitely. And we are much a strong belief in that. We are working towards that.
That means, like they say, speed and scale can come with strategy for building such a scale. How are you going about that?
So we strongly believe in this period, we have to collaborate with people. We have to collaborate with companies. We have to collaborate with organizations. So it is not I build or my company build all the capabilities. How we are collaborating to give maximum value to achieve this target. So we are believing collaborating. There are enough technologies which is available, which may be proven. We can work towards the sustainability working together.
Absolutely.
So it is a cooperative approach and collaborative approach.
Absolutely. I keep telling people, or at least the last 10 years, I've been telling them that you either collaborate or you collapse. You cannot have it that you build a company with your own resources. Has to be connected with multiple people who bring multiple domains and expertise in those domains. 1 or 2 sentences. If you are talking to me as a business prospect, if I have to reach out to you, what is that single reason that you would want to offer to me or to any prospect on why I should work with you?
Okay. So it's a long-term partnership, both on the carbon reduction and reliability together.
And what is that unique distinctive thing that you bring that others don't bring in the marketplace?
Yeah. Typically, if you see in the market, there may be multiple energy auditing companies, 1 or 2 bigger one. But many of these companies may be working in isolation only for energy efficiency. And there are some companies who work only on the safety aspects. But we believe that a company, when we work in towards the safety, we can also bring energy efficiency in that process and systems. So that is the distinction what we are bringing to the organization.
Right. Wonderful. Well, great talking to you, Ben and George. It's been, educating to me in certain ways because, when you talk about things like how you can bring savings of up to 20 to 30% of whatever the total savings are with no investment or very, very minimal investment, it's an eye-opener for me, just as it will be for many other managers who are listening to this conversation. Well, to all of you out there, I'd like you to see if you can like and subscribe. Well, that isn't half as important as you're marking in your comments on the box itself as you scroll down on YouTube or on the podcast. Listen in, learn as much as we enjoy offering these things to you in a way that you can build better practices and improve bottom lines for your companies. Have a great day, all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Benet, for being with us here today.
Thank you, Dr. Hargan. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.